It is time for a new tier list updated for the Mewtwo Y release and also of course for the latest balance patch. This video will contain two different tier lists. The first one is going to be a top and bot path tier list, and the second tier list will be for central area. Always splitting it up because putting every Pokemon into the same tier list really doesn't make too much sense, because some Pokemon will be much stronger in path or top path and some will be much better in central area. So we go ahead and start with the path tier list. Also, it's important, this doesn't mean how strong these Pokemon are on level 5. It just means on how strong I rate these Pokemon if they're either picked on top or bot path, and then how do they perform through the entire match. That's pretty much what I'm going for here. First up, we have the good old classic Venusaur, which I think is a solid Pokemon. You can pick in path, go Solar Beam, Pedidance. Both are fine builds. I think it's just a very, very fine Pokemon to pick. And Gengar right now is pretty bad. I wouldn't recommend playing it necessarily. It does still work in solo queue, and if you're a good Gengar player, you can make things happen even in path. But in general, I would not necessarily recommend playing Gengar right now whatsoever. C means pretty bad as well, and D just means you probably should never ever pick this whatsoever. Mr. Mime has fallen a bit, I would say. Goes into B tier. There's a lot of strong supports right now. Very strong last-hitting Pokemon as well that can compete with Mr. Mime quite easily. I think he's still fine support. Like, he's not a support, right? He's like a damage, stun mage, more of it. He's quite fine. Snorlax, I think, is B. He's just outpower creeped by other defender Pokemon right now, I would say. It's not too bad, but yeah, just outpower creeped by much better defender Pokemon. I think Gardevoir in path. I mean, I had it, I think, in A last, but I think I'm gonna put it down maybe into B. Like, it's alright. You get to level 5, you're quite strong, but there's a lot of very strong special attack Pokemon right now that probably just take the spotlight away from someone like Gardevoir, but I do think it's just a solid Pokemon you can always pick and have a lot of success on as well. Absol feels pretty bad right now to play. I can't recommend it even in path. I really don't think you should be playing Absol. I think Gengar actually has higher chance of winning than Absol has, especially in path. It can work in central area. Besides that, not good. Garchomp after the buffs, I don't think it did all too much. I think it remains in B tier for now. Garchomp also just outpower creep right now by just much better melee Pokemon, and it's difficult. It's very difficult for melees in this meta as well right now. There's a lot of very anti-melee friendly Pokemon, and it's quite difficult to play, squishy around us. And you're gonna see a lot of squishy around us, drop down pretty decently far. Lucario, I rated him A tier last patch. I don't know if I can do it again. I think he's just a solid B tier. Power Punch Close Combat is decent, but it's nothing too crazy either. I think Crush I'm going to bump up to B tier for now. I think he for sure is playable in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different builds. Is it really game-changing? Probably not. Is it fun? Can you play it? Yes, B means like you can play those Pokemon, but don't expect to carry every single game with it, pretty much. But those Pokemon that I put in B are all playable, and I think they're all viable. That's what it means. B is viable. A means they're above viable, they're very decent, and then A plus S, of course, is, self-explanatory. Just these are the best Pokemon. C is on the edge of unplayable and viable, somewhere in between, and D should just be completely unplayable. That's pretty much how I'm ranking these Pokemon. Greninja goes into the path unplayable category. Do not like it right now. Pretty bad. Talonflame C. Yeah, I mean, Brave Bird is not too bad actually, but is it really game-changing when you play it in path? I don't think so. Charizard has seen better days as well. Charizard is not a good Pokemon right now. Cannot recommend playing, I cannot recommend playing Charizard whatsoever. I'm also going to just sort them like by class, by role. So it's always attacker, then it's all-rounder, then speedster, then support and defender. I'm not ordering them by how strong they are in each of these ranks. Just a bit of, bit easier for the eyes to understand, which role has which Pokemon in it. I think Zeraora is actually quite fine in path. I don't mind it too much. I do think this Pokemon is playable now after level 5 and 7. I think it's one of those speeds I'd rather have in lane because it actually has decent early game as well. I do think it's viable, but that's pretty much all about it. Cinderace goes into the don't play it in path, please, never. Eldegoss easily an S tier Pokemon. It's for some reason, it's just super strong. It does so much in team fights, it does so much in early game. You're always going to have a good time with Eldegoss. Cramorant is a solid B Pokemon, pretty much as viable, and that's all there is to it. I think Blastoise is actually a bit above that viable. He's pretty decent. Water Sport, Rapid Spin, Unite Mover are very impactful, and he also has very good laning phase. Pikachu, it's also just pretty much as viable. Good Pokemon in general. Clefable is, I mean, supports are very strong in general. Supports are super strong, and I have to rate a lot of them very high, but I'm going to put Clefable, I think, into A+. For now. I think A+ is totally fair for this Pokemon to go into. Ninetales to me is an absolutely S tier path Pokemon. It's one of the best attacker Pokemon you can pick. and I would everyone recommend if you play Path to play it, even though I would actually don't want to recommend it because playing against Ninetales is an absolute pain, and it's one of those reasons why Pokemon like Garchomp, you know, and all these melee Pokemon have a very difficult time right now because Ninetales completely ruins it. Same for Eldegoss, same for Clefable. You can see all these Pokemon are very anti-melee friendly. Cotton Spore is very popular, it stuns around you can't dive into it. Ninetales, you perma frozen. Gravity, you can see a pattern there on why it's so difficult to play certain melee Pokemon right now. Wigglytuff is alright. It's totally viable, totally fair. Slowbro, one of the strongest Pokemon right now, especially because of the Mewtwo meta. I don't think I'm going to put it into S tier though because of its win rate. I do think it's very, very strong, but I don't know if it deserves to be in S tier. It does feel pretty good, but I don't think it's S tier worthy right now. Machamp is alright. Machamp is also just... I feel like the B tier is going to just fill up very, very fast. Like there's a lot of just pretty much just viable Pokemon, but they don't feel any too special right now, I have to say. Blissey also goes into the A tier with the other support. Yes, Clefable has a defender background. This tier list I've been using forever, and they just uploaded it with a defender background. Doesn't really matter. Same for Wigglytuff. I know people in the comments always care about it, but it does not really matter. Mamoswine, I think, is also just about viable. Nothing game-changing. I think, again, Mamoswine is actually decent, but just outpower creep out the defender Pokemon. Sylveon, not having a good time as well right now in the game, goes into the B tier. I think Green's actually quite decent, but he's one of those Pokemon that only a few will play, only one tricks will get it, and that's pretty much about it. I don't think anyone else really wants to play a Greedent. Decidueye in Path is better than these Pokemon just because it has a power spike and it doesn't need too many levels. It just needs level 7, and it's pretty much good to go. So I do think if you have an XP share support, it's totally fine. Would I still recommend playing Lane Decidueye? No. Is it somewhere between viable or like a bit under it? Yeah, for sure. I do think that's totally fine. Dragonite and Path, I just do not like. I don't like seeing it. Not a fan. It takes a bit too long as well. It does need... I mean, it needs level 8. 8 is a lot to go for, and you just let Dratini can be quite difficult. Serena is absolutely terrible right now, but is it really... I mean, it does feel so... Every time I play Serena, I just want to cry. It feels so miserable to play. And yeah, ranking Decidueye and Gengar Talonflame higher than Serena, it does feel rough, but if you guys play one game of Serena, you realize that it's just absolutely miserable. Is D tier maybe a bit too harsh? Let me know in the comments if you think D tier is a bit too harsh, or if Serena should be higher. But every time I played this Pokemon in the past now, it felt absolutely miserable. Trevenant, I would say, is a bit above these defender Pokemon. Goes into A. A lot of stuns, still very strong. Aegislash also has a terrible win rate, but I don't think it's as bad as it looks like on the win rates. So I think I'm going to put it into B tier. I think it's just a very high mechanically skilled Pokemon. But again, it's just the... I don't know. It's the meta's just so anti-melee friendly. And if I look at win rates for Serena as well, I guess I have to also take this into account. And it's not looking good for our Sword in the current win rate, you know, category. Hoopa goes easily into S tier, one of the most broken Pokemon in the entire game when it comes to what it does. Porting your entire team around, resetting them to full HP instantly, saving people left and right with the Hyperspace Hole. Way too strong. Duraludon is, again, the classic basic attack, physical attack if you want to play one in lane or in Path. Is it amazing? No. Does it do its job? Yeah. Totally viable in solo queue as well. 100%. Azumarill, I do put into A tier and no B tier or A. I don't know. I do think Azumarill is actually quite decent. Maybe A is a bit too high, but it's so difficult. I think if you play Water Pulse and Aquatel, I think it can be an A tier Pokemon. Pretty sure. But I do think if I put Azumarill into A tier, I also have to put Machamp and Lucario here, and I think it actually looks better. I think those two are actually, or those three all-rounders are pretty decent. Also, if I take a look at, you know, the highest win rate, you know, builds of those Pokemon, they actually perform quite well. So I think, you know, actually putting them to A tier is probably a bit more fair. Espeon easily goes into A tier. Very strong attacker still as well. Maybe even A+. When it comes to Defender, I think you can play almost every bit except for Future Sight. I really don't like seeing Future Sight on Espeon. Besides that, still very strong Pokemon when it comes to just having a good laner. Just very strong early power spikes and does a lot throughout the entire match. Delphox, I think Fire Spin, Fire Blast is actually quite decent. The only problem is it does need level 6. It's very teammate reliant. So if you have a bad lane partner, I would never recommend picking Delphox. If you have, against, as always, someone with XP share, I can recommend it, and it would probably be somewhere up here. But it's just so teammate reliant, and I still have to look like how often are you really going to have an XP share support? not a lot, right? XP shield defender. In ranked, it's not going to always happen. That's something I think I have to also, take in count. Of course, like any of these Pokemon, if you have an XP shield support, they're instantly going to be much stronger than they should be, right? Glaceon, just a solid B attacker Pokemon in lane as well. You probably should play Icicle Spear, but it does work. Buzzwole is one of those Pokemon that has like a terrible win rate, but I think it's very, very strong. And I do think it deserves to be either an A or B tier. I do like Buzzwole. Turnitin Path, I'm a big hater and I always hate on it. Not a fan. It takes way too long to scale up. Mew, to me, is still an A+ Pokemon when it comes to attacker in Path. Very, very strong, very underrated. And of course, it takes a bit more skill to play, but it is quite decent. Scyther goes into a C tier, nothing special about this Pokemon right now. Dodrio is still very, very annoying. Does it deserve to be A+ tier? Probably not. Does it go into A tier? Yeah, I think that seems about fitting, I would say. Scizor has a terrible time in this meta as well. It does have earlier power spike, so I'm going to put it higher than the other Pokemon still, but it's also quite difficult. Once you play into Ninetales or something, or like, look at these top Pokemon, they're so annoying for any melee to be up against. It is painful. Sableye, I mean, I think the Gremlin probably goes into B tier. It's about viable. Zoroark is still I think a very strong Pokemon you have to really be careful playing against. I do think it is A+ tier. It does sometimes take a bit, to scale up, but if it does, then it becomes very strong. Both of Shifus, I know they have very bad path, but getting to level 5 in ranked is still, like, as soon as you get to level 5 in ranked, you're still going to do a lot, right? Either Wicked Blow or Surging Strikes, doesn't matter what. As soon as you get to level 5, which sometimes can take a bit longer, because Kapfu is literally, I mean, not literally, it's one of the worst laners in the entire game, right? It has terrible early game, barely does any damage. Last hitting, it does exist, but it's not great either. But if you make it to level 5, you can start winning your path very, very hard. It's just a good Pokemon. Dragapult, the classic DP lane, goes into D tier. Comfey goes into S tier because of Mewtwo. I don't like putting it up here, but I think I have to just because Mewtwo exists. And you see all the supports up here. Supports are so strong right now. Goodra, I'm going to put into A tier. Finally, I'm going to put Goodra into a higher rank than usually. It just got buffed, and now Goodra, I think, it's in a very good spot. It's a very good spot. It feels very balanced. It doesn't it does sometimes feel a bit unfair how much it like lives and stuff, but I do think it's a very, very good design Pokemon now. Lapras is still S tier defender very, very easily. It does so much damage, and Umbreon is going to join it there. These are the two best defender Pokemon right now. Lapras, Umbreon, by far, actually. I mean, Slowbro again, he's there, but Slowbro is only for the Unite move. Also, the Unite move, it's just alright. But Lapras and Umbreon just do so insanely much throughout the entire game. Lapras still needs big nerfs, that is for sure. Zacian, also still S tier Pokemon. Where's the Ronda spot right here? No, the start right, there's the Ronda spot. There's so many support. Wait, Attacker should be here as well. There we go. Attacker there. Zacian, still S tier. Chandelure, I I think it's a solid A Pokemon when it comes to Path. Leafeon, I think, is A. It doesn't have a high win rate, but I do think, you know, as soon as you get Solar Blade or Razor Leaf, your lane is going to be easy, and you just level 4 for it, so it's very, very easy. Inteleon, S tier easily, Water Gun, the best lasted in the entire game. It does so much damage, and it's very, very hard to play against. Has very good late game as well. This Pokemon just does way too much damage. And now to our favorite part. Can you guys guess where Mewtwo Y and Mewtwo X are going to go? Can you guys guess? Wow, X already goes into God here. Big surprise there, but where does Mewtwo Y go? Wow, it goes into S tier. Both of these Pokemon, well, it's one Pokemon, are completely broken and deserve their own tier because they are this far ahead of any other Pokemon. It's ridiculous how broken it is, really. Mewtwo Y is, people were not sure in the beginning. I wasn't sure how OP it's going to be because it's more of a squishy attacker, but it has so much auto-attack range. The Unite move on the Y version does so much damage as well. You, like, completely nuke people to half HP. Going into a team fight, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Nothing else I can say, really. And that's it for the top and bot path tier list. Let me take another look, but I think it looks quite alright. Let me know in the comments, as always, what you disagree and what you agree with, and if you would place a Pokemon, you know, into a different tier. Always interested in your guys' opinion, especially the ones that are like, nah, I don't like this and this and this. I want to kind of know. Maybe put some explanation as well where you think it would be better. And yeah, it's gonna head into the Central Area tier list next. We start again with Venusaur, which sees play at the World Championship as well. it's a pretty decent Central Area Pokemon. You can always go Petal Dance, Solar Beam. You hit your level 13 Power Spike, pretty much guaranteed if you go towards Central Area. Very underrated Central Area Pokemon that, again, it even sees play at the World Championship and tournaments with both builds. So I think it's something you for sure, you know, something to consider. Gengar B tier, nothing really too crazy. It's just about viable for players that are very good at Gengar. If you're not very good at Gengar, I wouldn't recommend playing it whatsoever right now. Next up, Gardevoir, just a good old classic, very solid, very reliable mage, you know, attacker you can always pick and have a lot of success on. Sometimes the games can be quite rough, the enemies have a lot of dive, you know, like Zoroark and Leafeon, it can be quite difficult to play against. You have Moonblast if you want to do that, right? You can always play Moonblast as well. Every single bit is viable, every combination on this Pokemon is viable, so you can always adjust towards your opponents. Garchomp, same struggle there. I do like Garchomp a lot, but again, it's pretty difficult meta for Garchomp right now, and it's nothing I would recommend. Lucario, not towards Central Area. Absol, I mean, I do think it's B tier worthy. I think Pursuit and Sucker Punch can work, but it's quite difficult, and it's another Pokemon like Gengar that needs, you know, skill to be there involved for you to get a lot of work done. Greninja, I mean, I don't know, Greninja feels so bad right now. I really just do not like it. C tier, maybe a bit too harsh, I would say, but I guess B tier is probably fair. But higher than B tier, for sure not. I think that is the maximum I will put Greninja in. There's a lot of Greninja players. I don't understand why I'm not a fan. Charizard really feels just absolutely bad right now. I don't know what it is. Last time I played Charizard, I just absolutely zero damage. Everything just got out-healed by my Unite move. I had a terrible time. And I never see... Charizard is something that just I don't even see anymore either. Like, usually there's still Charizard players around, but I feel like Aaron has just given up on Charizard for now until further, you know, further buffs maybe. I think Talonflame is actually quite decent. I do like it. Fly and Brave Bird are both team decent, so you have two different playstyles as well. And I think it's actually one of the better speedsters right now when it goes over Central Area, just because it's a bit, you know, it has a bit easier time of dealing with a lot of the things that are currently in the game. Zeraora, I actually like it a lot. I think it's better than the other speedsters. Cinderace is quite fine. I think it's one of the better physical attacker Pokemon you can also play right now. You can go Shedinja Doll on it, which allows you to dodge a lot of those, you know, point and click things like Mewtwo's things and like liquidation. You have counterplay against Leafeon. I do think Cinderace in the Central Area is actually not too bad. Dive Cormorant is just always a decent one. Jungle Pikachu, absolutely not going to happen. Central Area Ninetales, it does work. Would I recommend it? Not really, but it is something you can, you know, maybe play. Machamp, I'm really not a big fan of Central Area Machamp. It does work, but I feel like it just gets outscaled insanely fast. And without having attack rate stacks, it also feels quite, you know, weak most of the time. So it does need a lot of experience. Central Area is probably fine for it, but I do not think Machamp in the Central Area is something that is currently all too viable. I think Sylveon is fine. But man, Sylveon doesn't feel good as well right now. It really just doesn't. I played it a few times, and I think Mystic Fire in Central Area is fine, but nothing I would recommend. Decidueye with a Spirit Checker after the bug fixes, I think is totally playable again. Just gotta watch out for Leafeon and Zoroarks, of course, and otherwise I think it's always a just decent Pokemon. Dragonite, I do think Outrage is actually quite decent. I do like Outrage. I'm gonna put it into 8 here. I mean 80, I think in general, like Central Area is always a weird path because there's a lot of Pokemon that suddenly feel much better as soon as you pick it in Central, right? It's actually kind of hard to rate them sometimes. Serena goes also into D tier right here. Aegislash goes probably into D tier in Central Area. Just not really strong Pokemon right now. They lack the ability to carry, right? Like you want something that say carries or just has very good parts besides that, and they just don't. These are all support and defender Pokemon. Duraludon is still always just a reliable attack carry. Goes also into A. I think Espeon can totally Central Area with stored power Psybeam, but I don't think I would rate it all too high. I mean, actually, no, I do think it's quite decent in Central Area if you go stored power and Psybeam. Just make sure you don't play Psyshock in Central Area. That's for sure something you only play in Path. Delphox, a bit above the rest, I would say A+. To me, Glaceon is also A+. I do think Icy Wind and Icy XP are both still ridiculous. I don't know why this Pokemon has such low win rates. I really just don't get it. So, but to me, it feels very powerful, and Icy Wind also sort of success at the World Championship as well. It wasn't played a lot, but the times it was played, it actually did quite a lot. Azumarill, nothing too crazy when it comes to Central Area. It does have very early power spikes, but I think it's very attack weight reliant over Pokemon. Attack weight increases your damage by an insane amount. Buzzwole in Central Area, you get to level 5 quite fast, and level 5 you can maybe just completely snowball the game. I do think it's something you can consider, but nothing too crazy either. Tyranitar for now I'm going to put into B tier, but actually his win rate went up by quite a lot. I think Tyranitar after the buffs as well is probably going to be even higher. So I do think Tyranitar might be back. It's just a very boring Pokemon to play. It's just boring. That's the problem with Tyranitar. It's very good in late game. I think it has a chance against Mewtwo as well because it can actually live throughout the damage and take it down. So it's just a pain to play. But if you have a team around it, if you get XP early on, Tyranitar is for sure something that is quite decent. Mew Central Area, not a big fan anymore. It used to be quite good, but I mean you can play it. Would I recommend it? Probably not. Dodrio, still easily A+, one of the best speedsters in the entire game when it comes to Central Area. Zoroark is level 5, also very fast. Gonna put into A+, right there. And then we head into Scizor and Scyther Scizor Central Area. Jake is hopefully going to be happy because he also hates having a Central Area Scizor. And so do I. Something we can agree on. Scizor in Central Area is horrendous. And it has such weak gangs. It takes so long for it to go back to the jungle rotation and farm up. It is just not good. I think if you have a Duo-Q partner and you go for a Central Area until level 5 and then let your Duo-Q partner go for Central Area afterwards, it is fine to do that, right? But for a full Central Area Central Area Scizor, I don't recommend. Scyther is fine. Nothing crazy either though. Goes into B tier. I mean, it's a speedster, right? But I guess it's the all-rounder because of Scizor. Scyther totally okay, but nothing crazy. Then we have Surging Strikes Urshifu, which I think I'm going to put into S tier. Yeah, I'm going to put Surging Strikes Urshifu into S tier. It is still ridiculously strong. Also, if you saw the World Championship, right? Like, even a top play, this Pokemon takes over games insanely fast. It was still a top priority there as well. Big Blow Urshifu has fallen in priority, but doesn't matter what, it's still very strong. Pokemon has one of the best CQs in the entire game. Is it S tier now? Is it A+ or A? Probably. Dragapult has fallen off a tiny bit, I would say. Doesn't feel too great right now, especially. I mean, Mewtwo completely destroys Dragapult, right? You cannot play Dragapult into Mewtwo. Those point-and-click things get you out of your Dragon Dance and you're done for. So you have to just hope you're not up against a Mewtwo when you play this. Or Inteleon as well. Just point-and-click things just do too much damage. Zacian, easily S tier, still a broken Pokemon. Chandelure goes into A. Has fallen a tiny bit out of the meta just because of the nerfs, but it still does a lot of damage. Then we have Leafeon, which I feel like Path Leafeon is actually better than Central Area Leafeon. But even if you get ahead on Leafeon, it's going to do a lot. And in Central Area, you can get level 8 by 8 or like by 750 or 8 minutes. You can Unite Move, and you're going to have Unite Move for the next Reggie fight already as well. Like, you can snowball games insanely hard. I think Razor Leaf might be better in Central Area. Solar Blade does totally work though as well. But yeah, it's something you can play Central Area. Then we have Inteleon, also goes into S tier right here. Because you get a lot of experience, even though it has very good last hitting, right? Just having a lot of experience for yourself in Central Area is going to be just absolutely insane. I do think, though, if you have an XP share support, it's actually probably better in Path, because you can secure so many more last hits than the enemy team. And with XP share, you get all the experience, right? So it's actually quite good there as well. But in Central Area, Inteleon is also just absolutely insane. Then we have, I think that's it actually we only have Mewtwo's left, right? Let me check. I mean, these are like meme Pokemon, right? In theory, you can play Goodra Central Area. Like, you can do it. Would I recommend it? Not necessarily, but Goodra Central Area is something that you can actually play. Lapras as well, it's something you can play in Central Area, just because the Pokemon is absolutely OP, and you're going to get very strong very early on. So actually, I think I have to put it into A tier. I don't think anyone should be playing it, or you can play it, or you should be playing it, but if you do it, you're still going to be very strong on it, right? That's just the thing. But in general, you just want to have a very good late game carry in Central Area to make sure you win the game there. Blastoise is well another Central Area Pokemon that can, or like Defender that can go to Central Area, but nothing too special either. And then we have the Mewtwo's. Guys, can you guess where these two Mewtwo's are going to go? X goes into God tier. Wow! Where is Mewtwo Y going to go? Into... Oh, God tier, I mean. Into... Yes! God tier! Yay! Wow! Crazy! Broken Pokemon going into God tier. Yeah, both Mewtwo's need nerfs. I don't think it's a secret. I think everyone realizes it. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. Again, also for the Centraria tier list, let me know in the comments what you think, what you agree and disagree with, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!